Hey Flosstube, it's Kim back again with another weekly cross-stitching update. This is Flosstube number 74 and today is the 22nd of June 2020. I hope everybody had a productive stitchy week. I worked on 4 different pieces and I have an FFO, well actually 5 kind of, and I have an FFO to show you. So last week I told you I was going to finish up the page on Big Red Ship of Life by Ink Circles. And so I finished up the second page on the second row, page 6. I just had those 3 guys to finish, which I did. So first I will show you a close-up of that page, which starts just this side of the mast. So this is page 6, and then for July, August, and September I will work on page 7. Page 7 is pretty stitch heavy. There's as far as density of the stitches, but page 8 is pretty light. So there's just something interesting that I found. Like if you look at the design, the 3 guys are done. So let me go the right way. This you can see is pretty stitch dense with the tree and the sail and this motif and the bottom of this and all here. But then come over here to page 8 for the end of that I'll be stitching the end of this here. That page will go faster than this one. So just kind of interesting. Like when I get back down to this boat, that'll be a lot of stitches. Or the ship rather. So here is the full piece. Again, this is 1/1 on 28 count even weave by MCG Textiles. Their mushroom even weave. And this is the one where I started at the wrong orientation, but I promise I have space. I just have to sew on extra fabric once I get down there. So that is Big Red Ship of Life. And then next I had a new start. It's only like my, let's see, what number new start is this for the year? My 4th new start of the year. Cardsharp, a Hade by Omar Rayan. Starting up here in the top left, that dark window corner. I worked on this Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so 3 days, and I got 1,600 stitches. I've had a headache most of this week. Different headaches. A series of headaches because they move in different places around my head. Some of that is stress because things. So I haven't gotten as much done this week as I wanted to. But there is 1,600 stitches. This is the one where I'm trying out the 28 count. Easy count instead of 25, which is my usual. So there are about 3 different colors into that so far, though you can't really tell. There's black and a dark brown and $37.99. I want to come back to this week and do a little bit more. So hope to work more on that this week. I'm gonna put that there. And then for Friday, Saturday, Sunday was the Midsummer Night Stitch weekend in Full Coverage Fanatics. One of our, like every other month we have a theme weekend of some sort to motivate you to stitch with no counting requirement. So this weekend was based off of William Shakespeare. So any piece you could work on that you could relate in some way to William Shakespeare. And I worked on A Summer Ball by Sandy Littlejohn of Cross Stitch Art because England. This chart is out of print. However, when I posted my picture on Instagram last night, someone commented and said they contacted the designer directly and were able to get the chart, pay them and get the chart somehow. I have asked her how she did that. I know Cross Stitch Art has a Facebook page that I always link below in the description box where you can get some of their other panoramic designs like that, just not this one. So I don't know if they contacted the designer through the Facebook page or what. But I will let you know if she replies and tells me. So this piece is currently out of print, but there might be other ways you can get it. Again, because of headaches and taking my girls to go do things, I only got 781 stitches into this over 3 days. And most of that was last night. It's one of those where it took me a while to get into it, and then I was flying, and oh look, I have to stop now. So I finished the pink dress below the bust line. I had the blue dress started, but I finished all the blue dress, and I started the lilac colored dress as well. So again, my goal for the end of this year is to finish this whole page. I was thinking with the 20 and 20 challenge for full coverage fanatics that I'm doing on Macintosh Mill, I think I'm going to finish Macintosh Mill before I finish the challenge. So then I have to finish the remaining stitches of the challenge on another piece. Earlier this year, I thought I would do that using Oh Baby, so I could set that up for a finish for next year. But depending on how many stitches I have left of that challenge, I might go ahead and use a summer ball. They're both, 2/2 pieces, not like Hayes and Tilton. So they both stitch about the same, meaning it's a longer stitch, but then there's big blocks of color too. So I might finish the 20 and 20 on this piece to give me the motivation to finish this page. Again, depending on how many stitches are left and where we are in the year once I finish Macintosh Mill. So let's look at Macintosh Mill. Again, I'm working on this a little bit every single day, at least 150 full crosses. And I have this side of the design to finish. For the month of June, I now have just shy of 2,900 full crosses complete. I have finished all the buildings. So I finished filling in the tavern. I did the white side of this church, which you really can't see. And I started on the trees and the shrubbery. Just pulling a color and taking it all over the chart because of the gridding. Although I haven't done the rest of the apple orchard here. And worked on that. So greens and some rusty oranges. So we'll continue to fill that in and see where I go next. I have a little bit here on the pie shelves to fill in. And the rest are people and grass and shrubbery and trees. And of course the horse and the rest of the buggy. So we'll keep working on that one. So this week is Macintosh Mill, Cardsharp. I need to work at least one day, but I'll probably do 2 days on Templar Prophecy by Long Dog Templars. Because Anne of Fiber Floss and Fiction podcast, she works on her long dog and I work on my long dog at least 1 day a month. And yes, I have heard and downloaded of their new chart, Pandemic. I don't have any plans to stitch the entire piece together, but looking at it, I think you could also pull out certain motifs as a small for like a gift, or do one of the borders, because there's so many different borders all over the piece for like a bookmark for a teacher gift. So I did download Pandemic, but no plans to do anything with it right now. Templar Prophecy has my priority on that one. So Templar, Cardsharp, Macintosh Mill for this following week. I said I was going to work more on Kindred Spirits. I don't know if I'm going to get there. We have 8 days left in the month. Big things happening. So we'll see what I get to. Okay, so the fifth piece I worked on, it only took me a couple minutes, but is also my FFO. I already showed you the little hedgehog. Well, yesterday I charted out the words and centered him, although it doesn't look like he's centered because his butt is much bigger than his nose, so it doesn't look like I centered the words on him, but whatever. It's for a neighbor. And so I stitched the words on yesterday, and I stretched it over this, I wanted an artist canvas, but for this size, it's actually, it's hard if you can hear that. This is what was called a gesso block. So it's a hard surface. Even the back is a hard surface that I probably write on here, like, you know, stitched by with my name and the date. So this is ready for my neighbor so that she can display it in her home and enjoy her love of little hedgehogs. Why don't they just share the hedge? So that is my 5th piece that I worked on this week. And I talked about my plans. Okay, that's all stitching content. The rest is life and Air Force stuff. My kids are not in the house right now. They're actually outside playing with neighbors. So I can tell you this. They don't know when he's coming home. Because current plans are he lands after they're asleep at night. And there can always be delays. Because even on his way out there, planes broke and he was delayed. So they don't know when he's coming home because I'm not going to break their heart and say, oh, there was a delay. You have to wait another day. I'm not dealing with the excitement and the, you know, they have a hard time knowing time and how many days is actually days. And of course, my 7-year-old does better than my 4-year-old, but it's just better. They don't know when he's coming home. We have a neighbor that's coming back from the same place. Was supposed to leave yesterday, and he's got a broke plane on his way home, and his daughter was told when he was coming home. So I'm not doing that. My neighbors know, so that whenever he does come home, if the girls are asleep, I'll have a neighbor come sit in the house while I go to the airport and pick him up. Because I'm not keeping my girls up late to greet daddy coming home from the airport and then them not being able to fall back asleep because they're so excited. Because 8 months is a freaking long time. Which is another reason for my headaches. Part of it's stress. And I do not like keeping secrets from my children. Even holiday magic. So, and I've been cleaning the house too, because even though my husband is really good when he's home about sharing house cleaning tasks, I don't want him to come home to a dirty house, right? Because it's been 8 months. It's been an adjustment, or it will be an adjustment, him coming home, because things are different. My girls eat differently, their preferences, what they eat and won't eat. Where things are in the house, things change. You don't realize it until you actually have a family member that's gone that amount of time. So it is an adjustment. He will be quarantining here at the house, which seems silly because I'm still allowed to go to the commissary and, you know, pick up necessities. So we'll see when he comes home. We think we know, but of course, flexibility is the key to air power because things happen. So hopefully next week when I talk to you again, he'll be back, but he may not be. Because the other thing is, commercial flights are limited after the pandemic. So, last week I told you the unfortunate news of the F-15C crash off of the coast of England, and that they didn't know about the pilot. They were searching for him. By the time I was watching back my video and was starting to upload it, they had located his body, and unfortunately he did not make it. His name was First Lieutenant Kenneth, or Cage, as he liked to be called, Allen. He was a Air Force Academy graduate and had from 2017, I believe. So, pretty young kid. He sounds like he had about 3 years of service in, and is survived by his parents and his wife. No kids, but so they found his body, they found the wreckage, so they'll be able to do their safety investigation and try to figure out what happened and what caused the crash. Lakenheath did a missing man formation with a 4-ship of F-15s as his body was transported from the UK to go back stateside. And then the other thing that Lakenheath did is that they were sending a jet to program depot maintenance, where I've talked about this before in some of my stories, where every, I can't remember if it's 6 or 8 years, an F-15 goes to depot at Tinker Air Force Base in Oklahoma and gets torn down and inspected real deeply. Well, so they were sending a jet from the UK to Oklahoma, and one thing they did is they put his name on the side of the plane where the pilot's name always goes underneath the cockpit, and they had a flag. They flew a flag in the jet, so I'm assuming that flag will either go to his wife or his parents to symbolize him leaving the base. So, just to give you an example, flags are flown in jets pretty frequently for significant folks that are retiring, like out of the maintenance community, operator community. You can request a flag to be flown wherever. A lot of maintainers that I supervise that were retiring, we actually requested a flag be flown over the Capitol, the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C., or over the White House, or because every single person in the Air Force that retires gets a certificate from the current president. I don't know if there's also a letter from the Secretary of the Air Force. So they get all kinds of letters and stuff. So a lot of times they'll also request a flag be flown, and they'll get a certificate saying this flag was flown over this particular building on this day for this person. So when I was deployed 13 years ago with our F-15Es out of Seymour Johnson, all the maintainers that were with us, we could buy flags from the BX there on the base and give them to the fighter squadron folks and have them flown during the combat missions. And then they would be returned with a certificate with the details as to what date they were flown, what the call sign was, signed by the fighter squadron commander and the air crew of that jet that the flag flew on. And so the certificate and the flag are given back to you, and then you can frame it yourself. So I bought, let's see, 4 flags, I think. I sent one to my parents, one to my mother-in-law. I sent one to my husband so that we'd have one. And then I think I also got one for my brother-in-law. And we got a really cool frame for ours. It's heavy. So there's the certificate and the flag that was flown, and I'll read it to you. I have a post-it note to cover it my husband's name. So it says, 336 Expeditionary Fighter Squadron, let it be known this American flag flew in F-15E Strike Eagle, tail number 89487, which is actually it's the flagship for the 335th Fighter Squadron, because we had kind of complicated, but there's 2 combat squadrons at Seymour, and because it was going to be the 336 was serving over there for 3 months, and then the 335th was replacing them. Well, we took a mixture of green tails and yellow tails, so a mixture of jets from both squadrons. So I like it that it just happened that my flag was flown in the chief jet, because before the deployment I was a chief. So it was flown in 89487, call sign Rumble 26, through the skies of Iraq on 4 March 2006 during a combat mission in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. Flown for, and this is my husband's name, and on this side of the certificate is the air crew, and then over here is the fighter squadron commander. And what's cool about this, and also the flag that was flown to my parents, the pilot was a major general. That's a 2-star general. Because there are other people on the base serving in other jobs. So other generals and colonels who still need to maintain their flying. What's the word I'm looking for? Currency. Their currency. So they wouldn't fly with us all the time, but a few times, a couple times a month, they'd fly with us. And so the pilot was the 2-star general. Also, I told you one of the little field trips that I took had the British Commodore stop by. So again, something like that where you have someone who's not normal to the squadron flying on the jet. So that, I'm assuming that for the widow of Lieutenant Allen, they will receive a certificate, something similar to that, along with the flag, and the squadron will probably frame it for them to honor his sacrifice. So that is your Stitchy and Air Force update for the week. I will see you guys next week for almost the end of June. And then July will be here before you know it. So, alright guys, have a good Stitchy week. We'll see you later.